Yeah. Born in the belly, Midwest intellect heavy. Theory like freight trains, movements run steady. 20/20 vision when the lens got clearer. We ain't blogging for clout, we building new eras. From Hegel to Lenin, we flipping the script. Got a doctorate in flames, this analysis rips. Not your campus club commies, we the real life vanguard. From Ohio to Havana, we hitting like armed guards. Raised on the mat, every takedown precise. Now I grapple with class war, no tap, no dice. Olympic dreams faded, but the struggle ignites. Now I lift up the people when I fight for their rights. Political science, but I ain't academic. I break down capital like a chemist in Venice. Marxist, Leninist method, the dialect clean. I put the thesis to sleep with the anti-machine. Oh, it's the hammer and the ink, the labor and the link. We write it in blood while the empire sinks. From the streets to the stacks, we expose every trap. It's Midwestern Marx, putting class back on the map. Oh, it's the hammer and the ink, the labor and the link. We write it in blood while the empire sinks. From the streets to the stacks, we expose every trap. It's Midwestern Marx, putting class back on the map. Carpenter hands, but I etch in stone. Blueprints of a world where the worker owns. 2022, I stepped in the squad. Now I build revolution like I build with God. Measure twice, cut once. Precision's the mission. Smashing superstition with materialist vision. No illusions, no gold-plated freedom ring. Just surplus value in the ruling class.
Teamster jacket with a pocket of notes. I study the bosses while I organize votes. Picket line preacher, proletarian scholar, spitting union gospel like a red collar baller. Came in 2023, now we militant deep. I make capitalists sweat when I speak to the fleet. Not just theory, we apply what we read. Midwestern Marx, where the word turns deep. So it's the hammer and the ink, the labor and the link. We write it in blood while the empire sinks. From the streets to the stacks, we expose every trap. It's Midwestern Marx, putting class back on the map. So it's the hammer and the ink, the labor and the link. We write it in blood while the empire sinks. From the streets to the stacks, we expose every trap. It's Midwestern Marx, putting class back on the map. Alliance with infrared, heat never passive. Built the party from the ashes, red massive. 2024, new epoch, no cap. From the Bronx to the Rust Belt, we taking it back. Philosophy sharp, it'll slice through the veil. Every thesis I drop, got a coffin and nail. Noah, I built from below, no tower of lies. And I ride with the workers till the ruling class cries. It's critique of the gun and critique with the gun. You debate, we liberate, ain't doing this for fun. They said the left was dead, but the heart still pumps. Watch it beat to the sound of the thump of the drum. Full Midwestern made, but East Coast tempered. We the storm in the books, they try to censor. From the factory floor to the top of the chart, we ain't spitting for fame, we spit to restart.
Y'all know there is no royal road to science, and only those who do not dread the fit's steep climb of its steep paths have a chance of gaining its luminous summits. You heard? Check this out. Real dogs read capital every day. I will not be a pawn, my mind will not waste away. Volume 1, Volume 2, and even Volume 3. I don't just grasp production, but also bank it. Volume 1 shows exploitation in industrial factories. He told the workers, get united if you want to get free. Surplus value is extracted at the point of production. The bourgeoisie is just a vacuum doing money suction. Your wage is the labor that they actually pay you for. The rest goes to bosses who never work on the floor. This extra value's called surplus, and it's all that they desire. They impoverish the workers as they stack their money higher. Capital is dead labor that acts like a vampire. It sucks labor from the living just to stack the money higher. We read capital to grasp this fact. Volumes 1, 2, and 3. It's time to join my reading group and join the ACP. Volume 2 is circulation of the product made in Volume 1. It must be sold on the market for accumulation funds. If the product isn't sold, capital won't make its money back, and the whole entire system then begins to crack. Everything is a commodity made to be bought and sold. The commodities producers care only for their gold. After goods are produced, they need to circulate, but when they don't, the system crashes just like like 2000. Capital is dead labor that acts like a vampire that sucks labor from the living just to stack the money higher. We read Capital at Crash Fact Volumes 1, 2, and 3. It's time to join my reading group and join the ACP. Volume 3 is the best of all. It explains the system now. The banking system always grows. It forces all to bow. The creditors, the rentiers, they suck up surplus, right? But they produce nothing of themselves. They're purely parasites. This sets the stage for Lenin's work on finance capital, when the monopolies, the banks and such dominate in full. The system is a crazy thing. The commodities whirl and blind. The bills get to be so much we only think about our next dime. But a man named Karl Marx, he wrote this book, helps us grasp our life under this capitalist mode of production with so much pain and strife. Read it yourself to see what I mean and then get organized. We workers have nothing to lose by change. It's time to stand and fight.
A single spark can start a fire, burning harder, rising higher. Through the fields it spreads desire. A single spark can start a prairie time. A wild rhythm, no reason, no rhyme. From a whisper to a thunderous choir. A single spark can start a prairie fire.
Eddie Lugger on the prowl, claw sharp, teeth gleam. Spot the fakes in the jungle, puppets on a live stream. Preaching Marx with a twist, watered down corporate blend. Claiming revolution, but they cashing checks in the end. Shred the fakes, rip the veil, truth's what I send. Exposing all the grifters who pretend to be friends. Liberals in disguise, they ain't riding with the cause. Clapping for the system, never breaking its laws. Vosh talking circles, playing chess with no king. David's on the mic, but the truth don't ever ring. Claiming they the vanguard, but they guarding the gate. More capitalist than Marxist, just puppets of the state. Keyboard warriors hiding in their chairs, claiming revolution, but they ain't going there. Eddie Lager prowls, ain't no time for the clowns. Rip them up, spit them out, leave them shook in the rounds. Shred the fakes, rip the veil, truth's what I send. Exposing all the grifters who pretend to be friends. Liberals in disguise, they ain't riding with the cause. Clapping for the system, never breaking its laws. Talking labor rights, but they don't know the sweat. Never been on the grind, never paid the debt. They selling theories, but the praxis ain't in play. Eddie's calling bluff, y'all just pawns in the fray.
All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome to an extra special episode of the Power Hour, the drama-filled, the oh-so-juicy leftist influencers tier list. This is one I think a lot of people have been looking forward to. It's one that a lot of people haven't been looking forward to. You know, the people who come here to our channel for information and Marxist theory and deeper topics than this, although we will hit on some deeper topics today in the process of doing this, but when I taught my class earlier this year on how to make TikTok content, I said there are two main kinds of content that you want to do. The two main kinds are educational content that, you know, increases people's level of theoretical and political knowledge and understanding. And then you have the sort of more mainstream content that's aimed at bringing new people in, that's casting a wide net to try and bring people into the Midwestern Marx Institute and adjacent, all of our friends, you know, our community here. And so that they can access the deeper videos and start learning. It works kind of like a funnel. So this is the latter, right? This isn't a super deep theoretical video for the hardcores, the nerds, the organizers, the ACP members. Although if you're, you know, one of those people, you're welcome to enjoy this video and watch it. But this is also one to, you know, get some people to watch, use drama to try and draw people into our sphere of influence there. I see a lot of people talking about the music in the intro. I'm glad that you guys like that. I'm actually shocked at how much people like the music. I was pretty nervous to start doing unique music for the introductions, but everyone seems to like them. So those are all made by me using AI tools. The better the song is, the more effort I probably put into it. You know, you can just give AI a description. It'll make a pretty good song at this point, but it also lets you go in, edit the style, edit the instrumentals, edit the song after it's been made using text or an actual audio editor. It lets you do custom lyrics, custom instrumentals, everything. So, you know, there is effort that goes into it. And we want, since everybody's like those, we are in the process of putting them on Spotify in a playlist. Carlos gave me this idea because he's been listening to these songs when he lifts and stuff. I send them to him on Telegram. And we're like, why wouldn't we put them on Spotify so people can listen? And then, you know, if people like the songs, it can also draw them into Midwestern Marx. So is he going to be rating Eddie Lager? I think that guy is great. I don't know if I can rate myself. Might be a little bit biased there, but love that song. Banger and relevant to this episode. Haha. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, it's pretty cool how much customization they give you. I've been using Suno AI, but I know a lot of people like Udio as well. I make Kami Boombop myself, sitting up. Nice. Music is pretty good. Good. For F's sake, an ad. Oh, geez, not again. Thank you for reminding me. Hey, guys, anytime you see an ad on the live stream, let me know. Because YouTube has been turning them on for some reason. And I don't know why. Okay, they shouldn't come up again. No more ads should come up. Let me check on Twitch because I don't want. We've had this conversation a lot, but like, I'm okay with having ads on our videos. Obviously, we got to make money somehow, but I don't want them on the live streams. I don't want people to have an ad pop up when I'm in the middle of saying something. I'm on the Twitch dashboard right now. I don't know how to do it from Twitch. Here we go. Ads manager, ads per hour, as low as possible. Okay. Okay, we should be good now. I don't want people to have ads. I'm not that money hungry. I'd rather have people hear what I say than the ads. If you want to support us financially, you can on patreon.com/MidwesternMarks. Help us keep the ads off, folks. But there's this wrestling, really big wrestling streaming service. You may have heard of it, called Flow Wrestling. It's a subsidiary of Flow Sports. They do Flow Jiu-Jitsu and Flow Track and Flow everything. But they will charge you a subscription fee, right? So you got to subscribe to see any of their videos. It's all behind a paywall. And then on top of that, they'll still bombard you with ads. So you're paying a subscription fee and getting bombarded with ads. It's like, all right, one or the other. I get it if you got to have ads on your videos, right? Everybody's got to make money. Or I get it if you got to put your videos behind a paywall. I put exclusive videos behind a paywall on our Patreon account. Patreon.com/MidwesternMarks, by the way. But don't do both. Don't make me pay and then bombard me with ads so you can make a few extra cents if I accidentally click one of them when I'm trying to play the video. Disney Plus does that too. That's insane, bro. And you know what? That'll probably become the industry standard because they'll make money from it. And you don't actually vote with your dollar in this economy. Why do Marxists often oppose the ideas of democratic socialists and social democrats? We could get into this, but basically, social democrats and democratic socialists have a liberal or naive or bourgeois view of the state, of the government. They actually see the government as something that is run democratically and that can be seized. At least democratic socialists, this is true. Social democrats have a longer history. But the democratic socialists believe that they can vote socialism into power. And this assumes that there is real democracy, but there isn't. What the state is an organ with a monopoly on violence. They're the only ones through the armed bodies of the state, like the police and the military and whatever else, the ICE agents, the TSA, the NSA. They are allowed to commit violence towards the population legally, right? The law gives them the power to commit violence, and ultimately that comes from material power, and it's a reflection of the class struggle. That control of the state is a reflection of the class struggle. Who really controls the economic power and the guns has control of the state. But either way, whatever economic class in society has the power of the state, has the authority of the state, can make that society in its own image, or can push society and put guidelines on society's development in a certain direction. And these democratic socialists, like the perfect quintessential example is Salvador Allende in Chile, right? He won democratically. The U.S. rigged 2 elections against him, but in the third election that he ran in, he won. And once the U.S. could no longer defeat him democratically or pseudo-democratically through rigging elections, they backed Augusto Pinochet, this member of the military who was willing to do a coup and become a fascist dictator. And that's the nature of the state, right? It's not a democracy. That's the nature of the neoliberal state. They will kill you. They will kill the working class if they try to take power. And they would do the same thing in America if a democratic socialist president got elected. They would not be against doing a violent coup if there were real revolutionary transformations going on the ground, which it would, again, be hard to do because we don't have a democracy and the president doesn't actually have that much control. So what's needed is a full revolution. As Lenin said, the institutions of the state can't be kept the same. You can't just win an election and keep going on running this liberal bourgeois state that's never been a real democracy. You have to smash the institutions of the liberal capitalist state and rebuild a workers' state, which is completely different. And works on completely different premises. Okay. Yeah. I'm glad you get it. I'm glad that was helpful. And in times of crisis, too, this is the last thing I'll say on this. In times of crisis, the Soc Dems and the Dem Socs tend to side with the fascists. I'll give you another quintessential example of the role that Soc Dems and Dem Socs play. In Germany, Rosa Luxemburg and Karl Liebknecht, two leaders of the communists, were murdered by Freikorps fascists, who was a section of the German military, many of whom would later become the SS and the militias of the Nazi Party. The Freikorps killed Liebknecht and Luxemburg, communist leaders, but their location, the location of Luxemburg and Liebknecht, was given to the Freikorps fascists by Social Democrats and Democratic Socialists. It was given to them by the reformists. So in this time of crisis, when Germany was in a time of crisis where they could either go towards communism or fascism, the Dem Socs and the Soc Dems sided with the fascists and helped them murder some of the communist leaders. So that's the kind of role that they play. And that is why communists have always called them the moderate wing of fascism. Yeah. All right, folks. That was a good start. I guess, should we talk about any news stories? We should talk about the Trump Epstein thing quick before we jump into the influencers tier list. Just want to hit on some of the biggest news stories of today, because there was a lot of stuff going on. Lex Friedman got shredded by Scott Horton on his own show. That was interesting. Oh, I might have uploaded this on Midwestern Marx, actually. No, I think I did it here. One sec. So here's Trump, who's asked by a reporter about Epstein and the Epstein files. And this is how he responds. Quite stunning. It's like might as well be Joe Biden out there at this point.
Alex Costa.
Sure.
Your memo and release yesterday on Jeffrey Epstein, it left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever.
I'm sure most of you have seen this already. Thank you, Rada Ruck.
The former Labor Secretary, who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Costa, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape?
Yeah, sure.
Could I just interrupt for
Sure.
1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this where we're...
At a time like this. I can't believe you're asking about Epstein at a time like this, when we promised that we were going to release the Epstein files and then didn't. And when the FBI and the Trump administration came out and said that he did kill himself, and they released a video with a minute missing in it that shows nothing. That wasn't even a video of Epstein's cell. I can't believe people are talking about this. My blatant lie. I mean, this is how narcissists work, right? This is pure gaslighting. They're completely lying to you. They're bold-faced lying right to your face, and then acting like you're the idiot for calling them out on their lie, especially when it's this big of a lie. As Haas said on X, a release of the Epstein files could mean an American revolution. It would show everybody that so many people in these positions of power are this morally depraved to the point where they would do something like that on Epstein's island. It would take away any and all illusions that exist about the ruling class in America, and the Democrats and the Republicans alike. It would wipe that away and show everybody what they are: a bunch of psychotic, wealth hoarding pedos. I don't know if I should say that on YouTube. I might get banned, and it's sad, because the thing about a narcissist is a lot of people will fall. If you're a good narcissist like Trump is, a lot of people will fall for your nonsense and your gaslighting. A lot of honest, well-intentioned people will fall for it, because they assume you're honest and well-intentioned the same way they are. They don't, They aren't always on the lookout for people lying to them and deceiving them. Regular working class people aren't, because the average person they interact with isn't like that. But that's how Donald Trump operates. Why would you even ask me about that? Why would you ask me about that after Elon said I was literally in the Epstein files?
Having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
A desecration after what happened in Texas to ask about Epstein. So not only is he gaslighting in a very narcissistic way, but he's standing on the graves of these dead children, these dead girls who are at like a Christian summer camp in Texas and died from flooding. He's standing on their graves and saying, how can you ask me about Epstein when, you know, what happened in Texas happened, when there were floods in Texas? Why would you ask me about the children that I potentially assaulted when there are other children suffering? That's scammer logic. So that happened. It still remains to be seen how many of Trump's people are going to flip on him over this. Elon Musk came out and said that Steve Bannon is also in the Epstein files, another reason they don't want to release it. And I mean, imagine how many people are in those files who are close to Trump. He surrounded himself with the Adelsons and all these Israeli elites. He surrounded himself with American elites. The same people that he called the swamp when he was campaigning are now the people influencing him to not do so many things that he promised, like releasing the Epstein files. And he's left to answer to the media and try to explain why he can't out all of his friends as the pedos that they are. And Kash Patel was recently on Joe Rogan, the FBI director. Joe Rogan did a pathetic job of pushing back. But all of the comments were just roasting, destroying Kash Patel, saying you're a liar. We don't trust you. We can tell that you're lying. You sold out, all this stuff. So it's interesting to see a lot of people turning on Trump, a lot of Trump hardliners, and then, you know, a lot of regular people who support Trump who don't, you know, have their nose to something like this. Keep that in mind. You know, like the Epstein thing, it would be like a huge revolutionary moment if it was revealed. But there are also a lot of people who don't follow politics day to day, who are only going to notice something if their day-to-day life changes economically or whatever else. Gosh, why does my Wi-Fi keep cutting out here? Is there any lag for you guys on the stream? I keep getting a notification that my Wi-Fi is unstable. How's that working? How's the stream look for you guys? Is it smooth? I don't think this laptop has a Ethernet plug-in. I don't see any lag. Okay, cool. No lag, seems fine. Good. I got one more thing before we start the tier list, my friends. I think this is interesting. I always, you know, Lex Fried pay attention to the right. And I try to pay attention to communities on the internet that are genuinely anti-establishment, but not communist. Because obviously they're just a few steps away from communism. They need communism and dialectical materialism to understand the system and how to actually fight it. So I find it interesting when things like this happen, like a lot of Republicans flipping on Trump. And a lot of people flipped on Lex Friedman recently. Lex Friedman doesn't have that much influence over MAGA people in the right wing. He's such a robot, right? He's such like an uninteresting, bland guy who just talks about how the world can be saved through having friendly conversations where we aren't hypercritical of each other. When he's talking to rich and powerful people who have been on Epstein's island, we just got to have conversations with them. He's that kind of guy. I don't know what he's ever done. I don't know why he's famous or considered a smart guy. But he does have a decent, sizable audience, including of right-wing people and anti-establishment people on YouTube. And recently, he did something which is rare for Lex. He had Scott Horton on his show, who is somebody that's actually politically literate, that actually understands geopolitics and is a very good journalist, understands the Ukraine issue. And Lex hosted a debate between Scott Horton and Mark Dubowitz about Iran-Israel. And the debate was an absolute blowout. Scott dominated Mark. But what most people were talking about in the comment section was how biased Lex Friedman was as a moderator and calling Lex a potential Mossad operative. So Check this out. Pretty interesting. Friedman recently got destroyed on his own show, moderating a debate about the Iran-Israel conflict. His own audience is tearing him to shreds in the comments for being completely biased and out of his depth to host this debate between Scott Horton and Mark Dubowitz. Just look at some of these. This one says, Lex was so clearly biased that it almost made this episode unbearable to watch. As soon as Scott starts going through a list of refutations against Mark's outrageous claims, Lex cuts him off. Meanwhile, Mark, the pro-Israel guy, is allowed to speak and speak uninterrupted. This guy says this doesn't even sound like Lex anymore. He's too defensive. This is too weird. As if they think Lex is now being paid off or something. And the next one says Lex should publicly apologize to Scott Horton. Embarrassing. Lex gets so defensive you would think he's Mossad. Love the episode. Lex seems like an unfair moderator this time, in all caps. These are Lex's own fans and subscribers just completely going in on him. This guy says Scott was attacked completely unjustifiably by the host. Lex called his arguments un-American bullshit. And this guy says, wow, I used to perceive this host as thoughtful. He's never been that thoughtful. You can tell Lex is biased when he doesn't catch interruptions from only one person. The pro-Israel person, who said during this debate it would be very, very helpful to have more Israels in the world. Something which Lex didn't push back on at all, of course. This guy's facade as an unbiased smart guy is falling apart. And now half his audience thinks he's in the Mossad. All right, so there's the comments. I should have played this one first, actually. But here's a video. This video was more viral than the one of Lex actually talking. But here's one that actually shows how the interview went down. Is so dense. How is this guy considered a public intellectual? Lex Friedman is so dense. How is this guy considered a public intellectual? Recently, he hosted a debate with somebody who's actually politically educated, and Scott Horton, and it did not go well for Lex.
The idea that you would accuse the President of the United States of being a foreign agent for Vladimir Putin, I think is unfounded. I think Scott did really good work in debunking that. I would say that just a couple days ago, I was watching a podcast Scott was on, and he accused Trump of being an agent for Netanyahu and the Israeli government. So I think, again, the accusations of the President of the United States as a foreign agent for some foreign government, I think we should just put all of that aside in any discussion and just say President Trump makes his own decisions.
I was making a point. That's hyperbole making a point. But he did. In fact, could you Google this for me? Because I always forget exactly how many hundreds of millions of dollars that he took from Sheldon Adelson and Miriam Adelson.
Who are Americans, by the way.
They're Americans who have dual citizenship with Israel, which he conveniently leaves out. But anyway, let's move on.
Sheldon Adelson said his only regret in life is that he served in the American army instead of the IDF, and said America should nuke Iran in order to get them to give up their nuclear weapons. He said, I have one issue, Israel. And they gave Trump hundreds of millions of dollars over 3 campaigns. That's not just a cheese. I really hope you'll think of me in the future.
Scott, first of all, a couple things. So one,
Lex is about to go off on one of the most ignorant rants I've ever heard, but this comment is so true. The recent events in Gaza exposed who's a paid influencer, podcaster, and who isn't on both the left and right. That is so true. I remember it happened first with Ben Shapiro, a bunch of people saying, ripping him apart in his comments, saying, I realize now that you're not on my side. You're on the side of the rich. I'm on the side of the poor. It's about that, not left and right. I think that was during Luigi Mangione that Ben Shapiro's comment section was ripping him apart. And right-wing influencers are going through a sort of crisis where if they choose to just tail the Republican Party, and if they abandon anti-establishment politics, which means telling the truth, at least on some level, even if you aren't 100% truthful, which none of these guys are, then your audience is going to attack you. You're going to have a huge segment of your audience, whether you're on the left or the right now, who's going to leave. And it wasn't the case a few years ago. And I keep repeating this quote over and over again recently. You can't be neutral on a moving train. The issue of Gaza has made the issues of our day, of our era, crystal clear. It's shown us that this is the face of imperialism, just mass murder with children, women, and other innocents as targets. It's made the class struggle really clear. This is the capitalist class. This is the ruling class. This is what they're capable of, and this is what they'll do to you if you challenge their power. And it's united a lot of people in the anti-establishment camp across, what's considered the left and right here in America.
One, there's a lot of people that are friends with Trump and try to gain influence. I believe that Trump is an American, is making his own decisions. Let's, for the purpose of this conversation, just focus on that and see what are the right decisions and what are the wrong decisions. And maybe
I wonder what decisions I could get you to make if I gave you hundreds of millions of dollars.
Well, me personally, you can give me, it doesn't matter.
I can get you to drop in on a ramp or nothing for $100 million.
Nothing. You cannot control my decisions with money.
It's the American system, Lex. That's how it works. It's money.
Right?
And why do you do your podcast, Lex? Why do you do anything? Why is your podcast monetized if money isn't an influence at all for you? Money's an influence for everyone. If you deny it, You're just a stupid liberal who thinks you're above, material conditions. I admit I have a Patreon. I need to make money. I need to eat. And sometimes I do videos like this leftist influencers tier list to try and bring in a larger audience when I maybe could be talking about theories of surplus value or something deeper and more theoretical. But liberals are dishonest about it. Like, no, I'm completely uncorruptible. Me, myself, I'm uncorruptible. But I mean, we're talking about the American political system here. We're talking about the American political system. And he's like, well, money wouldn't influence me. So let's just ignore all of Trump's corporate influences when we talk about Trump's decisions. Right? Because it's mean and not very nice to call Trump a foreign asset or say that Trump's influenced by Israel. Let's completely ignore all of his corporate influences. Because Russiagate was a hoax, let's ignore the billions of dollars that he got from the Adelsons. Like, no, why would we ignore that? That's a massive piece of evidence. When Trump is acting irrationally in Israel's favor and receiving billions of dollars from Israeli donors, like, yeah, we got to talk about that. What do you mean we should just set that aside, Lex? We should just set it aside. Set the evidence
we
of
can go on that.
corruption
We're talking about Archer Daniels Midland Company throwing hundreds of millions of dollars around. They get policies based on their hundreds of millions of dollars.
You can tell Horton is stunned at the end that he even has to explain these things to a grown adult who considers themselves a deep thinker. Lex is literally saying, can we just ignore all of Trump's corporate influences? Can we frame the entire conversation as if Donald Trump is a good faith actor who doesn't give anything to his donors in exchange for their money? Like, no, Lex, we can't frame it that way because that's not how the American political system works. Our laws and policies are written by corporate lobbyists who then pay politicians to push them through. Donald Trump's not any different just because he's your friend and he goes on your podcast. I know you think that you're uncorruptible, but the people who get involved with American politics are not. Trump calls himself the most pro-Israel president in American history and gives them over $3 billion a year. You don't think the Adelsons' money has anything to do with that? Lex's worldview is literally as naive as a toddler. He thinks the whole world can be saved by kindness and having nice conversations where we don't provide any pushback, by treating world leaders as if they're our friends and we all just need to sit down and have a beer together. No, Lex, these people are nefarious, corrupt, corporate puppets. And you're naive, so they're using your platform as a tool to boost themselves. Please just read a book other than Animal Farm. This is why people mocked you over your reading list a few years ago. If you don't remember that, Lex put out a summer reading list and it was like Animal Farm and all these other like anti-communist children's books that it's like, didn't you read this in middle school English class? These anti-establishment types like Scott Horton or Dave Smith seem literate on geopolitics and U.S. empire, but inevitably discuss socialist countries with tired State Department talking points. Thank you, Marco, for the $10 super chat and the astute comment. Yes, very true. Always beware of those journalist types. Sometimes they don't look that closely into existing socialist countries or the myths surrounding them. And it's the same with like a Jimmy Dore, right, who's hyper focused on what's going on in America, but isn't, diving into China and other countries. And he has people on his show to explain to him the myths about China and stuff, but he never seems to click for him. And he'll be like, what are we, North Korea? What are we, a bunch of Asian people? But yeah, thank you so much, Marco. Appreciate the $10 super chat. And with that, now that we got our first super chat, we can get into our main event of the evening. Sponsored by Corn Nuts. Just kidding. I wish. I've been getting a bunch of emails from potential sponsors recently. I'm like, are these scammers? Should I answer these? Who the hell wants to sponsor a Marxist podcast? I'm hyped. Let's go. I'm hyped too. This is going to be a good one. Let's get into it. Okay, first of all, we have, what's her name? Like Alice Chappelle or something? Is that this lady's name? Someone told me that, Capel? Alice Capel. Yeah, I don't know if she's like a Marxist-Leninist. She's like a fairly academic type. And she's French and talks about culture a lot, which are like usually red flags. But a lot of her videos are pretty good. They are, explicitly from a Marxist perspective. Here's Alice's channel. They're explicitly from a Marxist perspective, and they're pretty solid. in comparison to the average YouTube analysis that you get, right? She's good at applying dialectical materialism. And even if she's not like a Marxist-Leninist in terms of her political organizing and stuff, or if she doesn't talk about ideology in those, you know, more inner Marxist debates and just comments on culture and stuff like that, her commentary on those things are pretty good still. So we're going to put her in the... We'll put her in the A tier. Yeah. I haven't seen one of her videos yet that I've disliked. Maybe there's some video out there where she's like shitting all over China or something. You can let me know in the chat if that's a thing. But In Defense of Wokeism is one of her top videos. B tier. Yep, exactly. I knew there had to be like a video like that. Now that I think about it, I have seen that video. She's like, you know, wokeism is just moving towards more tolerance and progress, and ignores all of the, you know, the ways. She doesn't ignore. She addresses, like, you know, Raytheon having you know, pride flags at Pride, and, you know, using LGBTQ stuff or whatever to push imperialist neoliberal politics. I think she does address some of that, but either way, what do you think of, waiting to see what you think of S for A? Yep. Stay tuned. Comrade Batty. Comrade Batty is that girl who got famous because she was doing one of those street interviews. Somebody was interviewing her when she was out clubbing or something. And they were like, they asked her same page or different book, and she's like, different book, probably. And he's like, what book? She's like, Karl Marx. I love him. She's not super big into theory or anything. We gotta find the video. I'm sure I'll be able to find it here. Here it is.
We on the...
So this is Comrade Batty, and she does TikTok videos now. She's cool. She's friends with Rathbone. Not like super in-depth or educational videos, but she does read. She actually does do educational videos now, breaking down theory, which is cool. Using her audience for good.
Same page or a different book?
Different book? Shit, we're on a different book, probably.
Which book?
Karl Marx.
Who's that? Do you read though?
A socialist. I love him.
Cool.
So that's Comrade Batty. We'll put her at B too. She's cool. Brian Berletic. Brian Berletic of the New Atlas. Brian is a solid journalist. I recommend people watch the New Atlas. I don't believe he's a communist. He supports like what is it? I don't know, the not Taiwan, Thailand. I don't know Thailand's politics enough, but I believe he supports the monarchy against like U.S. interventionism. And I'm not sure about his position on Thailand's domestic politics. I've heard some interesting criticisms of it. But other than that, his foreign policy analysis, his analysis of U.S. imperialism is really, really good. It is top notch. Brian rules. Absolutely, Jenny. I really like Brian. He provides super solid analysis. He's friends with Daniel Dumbrill, another GOAT that we'll get to later in the list. Brian is one of those who, if you're in the audience today and you're new to learning about geopolitics and politics on a more thoughtful level, not like U.S. liberal comic book politics, the way it's taught in the education system and cable news, Brian is a great person to start with. So he's A. Brian is A. If he was a Marxist-Leninist, he'd be S. It's really good. Must follow Brian Berletic. Absolutely. Absolutely. Follow that man. Uh-oh. All right, now we're getting crazy. Bad Empanada. Bad Empanada is an ultra-leftist. He is completely unhinged and insane. I don't know if he would mind me saying that. He often gets himself banned for tweeting insane, adventuristic, violent stuff, and it's always directed towards like the ruling class, you know, but it's like just insanity, some of the stuff that he tweets, stuff that I can't even repeat here on YouTube. I don't want to get banned because of something he said. People, if you know, you know, though. If you've been following Bad Empanada long enough, you know. But his analysis is sometimes good, and he makes criticisms that are legitimate. Like he made this video about Hassan, and how he has aspects of liberal Zionism in his analysis and in his politics. And I was like, all right, that video was pretty good. He actually made some legitimate critiques of Hassan there. So some of his videos are pretty good. His video about Che Guevara is actually really good. So that keeps him out of the D tier, but C for Bad Empanada, the Ultra. Danny Haifong. Danny's a cool guy. I believe he is a Marxist-Leninist. He's part of the Friends of Socialist China group. He mostly does interviews, but he does some of my favorite interviews on the internet. Danny interviews really, really, really good people. He does Scott Ritter a lot. Alex and Alex from the Duran. Who else does he interview? He has tons of people on. George Galloway. There's Pepe Escobar was the one I'm thinking of. So he does good interviews, but not so much a creator himself as an interviewer. So we'll put him in B at the top, above Alice and Comrade Batty. What is this guy's name again? The Maoist guy? Black Red Guard. Black Red Guard, who was once on Dr. Phil for allegedly blowing up his neighbor's swing set because they were racist, allegedly. This guy is insane. He does have some banger tweets sometimes. He has some tweets that are fire. He's in DSA now, I think, doing DSA Maoism. Every once in a while, he'll hit the mark with a tweet, but he is ultra left. Wrote a critique of Carlos's book, The Purity Fetish, that made me laugh more than it made me think. He's in DSA now, yeah. Dude is hilarious. He is. He's like the lol cow of Marxists, but also sometimes he retweet. Like I said, sometimes he'll tweet a banger and it'll go viral. Goofy tier, yeah, exactly. I don't even know where to put him. The D tier isn't reserved for people like Black Red Guard and Bad Empanada, who are crazy ultras, but at least they're honest, I think. They maybe just have schizophrenia or something. Okay, so that's what the C tier is. The D tier is reserved for people like this. The D tier is reserved for people like Owen Jones and Ash Sarkar, who claim to be Marxists, who claim to be communists. Ash Sarkar has that famous thing on Piers Morgan where she said, like, I'm literally a communist, you dumbass. But they're actually just neoliberals. They're actually just people who talk about Hamas like they're, ISIS, who go along with the U.S. State Department line on Syria and Libya and every single foreign policy conflict that the U.S. and UK are involved in. These two, who are British, by the way, they run Novara Media. Or I don't know who runs it anymore, but that's how they got their start, or how I heard of them. Every single issue of imperialism and foreign policy, they end up on the side of the imperialists or pushing imperialist talking points and propaganda. Owen Jones was horrible on the issue of Syria. All he talked about was Assad, chemical gas, human rights abuses, blah, 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 blah. Guess what? Now Al-Qaeda's running Syria. Good job, Owen Jones. You saved the people of Syria by criticizing Assad and parroting U.S. State Department talking points. Just got an ad. Damn it. I thought I turned those off. Okay, I'm sorry about that. For now, just click on the ads 1,000 times so I make money. Just kidding. I don't know how to use Twitch as well, so I will figure out how to turn those off after this stream. I apologize. You're just going to have to maybe download AdBlock Plus for today. So yeah, Novara Media, D tier. The lol cows get to go in C. The actual nefarious bad faith actors with millions of followers pushing pseudo-Marxist imperialist politics, that's what gets you in D. Daniel Dumbrill. Daniel Dumbrill is A tier. Really cool guy. Super nice guy. Me and Daniel have had many a conversation. And we've talked on stream before, I believe. Really, really cool guy. Lives in, at least he used to live in Shenzhen, China, where he was a bar owner. And he got into making content, debunking propaganda about Xinjiang. Or he used to do like travel content, like vlog content. But then when these U.S. narratives started that China was doing a genocide in Xinjiang, which is an area that he lived very close to and was familiar to, he started asking questions and asking more questions. And then his channel started blowing up and he continued asking questions. And he sat down with some of the lead people pushing the Uyghur genocide narrative and had interviews where he absolutely destroyed them and showed that they had no idea what they were talking about. He has a video in Tibet where he shows how the Dalai Lama and the religious elites in Tibet exploited the people and would gouge out their eyes and cut off their hands if they wouldn't do forced labor or produce enough surplus. So Daniel's a really cool guy, just like a normal guy, normal bartender hanging out in China who started making content one day and became a based legend. He doesn't post that much. Like, you can tell he's a very normal guy with a lot going on in his life outside of YouTube and internet politics, which is really why he's because it's not like this is his life. He's just kind of being a better journalist than anyone that we have in the US just for fun. But shout out to him. I love that guy. Good friend. ContraPoint. Remember what I said earlier about pseudo-leftists pushing imperialist politics? So everybody probably knows why I have my disagreements with ContraPoints and BreadTube and their pseudo-leftism. You can watch my other videos on it, read my other stuff on it if you want to know my all-encompassing critique of what was called BreadTube and people like ContraPoints, PhilosophyTube, Thought Slime, and others. However, the one that I want to focus on today, just for this video, is this idea that was pushed especially by ContraPoints and PhilosophyTube that there are crypto fascists all around us. That almost every working class person you meet is a secret fascist. And you have to watch out for secret code words that they use called dog whistles, or secret symbols that they use like the AOK sign that are actually were baked up in 4chan so that regular working class people can symbol to each other that they're extremists, right-wing extremists. Right? And it created this, they were so popular on the left that this is what created the culture of everybody's a Nazi. Right? How that's something that the left has been roundly mocked for over the last few years, calling every single person a Nazi. People like ContraPoints is where that came from, because they were telling everyone there's secret Nazis all around you, and you constantly have to be on the lookout for them and calling it out to the point where everyone's a Nazi. The communists are Nazis, the non-communists are Nazis, the liberals are Nazis, everything's Nazi. Because ContraPoints told me that they're hiding it. Even if they don't understand that doing the AOK symbol is fascism, it is. And we need to call them out on it and call them fascists. That's the kind of attitude that it created on the left. And it was super harmful, super cancel culture-esque, and super unproductive. And of course, ContraPoints was more focused on culture war issues and stuff like that than class struggle. And she was hung out with Hillary Clinton, the queen of warmongers. And she and PhilosophyTube, I believe, were taking some like British State Department connected money. There's a Gray Zone article on that. Allegedly, I'll say allegedly. So yeah, the queen of BreadTube goes in the D tier. Diego Rusarin. Diego is a Marxist creator in Mexico. He is fantastic. His debates are great. His videos are great. If you speak Spanish, you must subscribe to Diego. Even if you don't speak Spanish, you must subscribe to Diego. He's our first S tier. Shout out to Diego Rusarin. We'll save this one for the end. If you know, you know. Hakeem. Tough one, because Hakeem has had his beef with Haas. I agree with Haas's critiques of Hakeem, but I wish Hakeem would kind of put that aside and ally with us at the ACP and help us build, we could really use him, Second Thought, and Ugopnik, who are the largest self-described Marxist-Leninist creators out there. Most of Hakim's videos I really like. There are small disagreements here and there, but overall, the basis of his theory is good. My main beef with Hakim is that he's not directly involved with any kind of Marxist-Leninist party in America. And I know he's Iraqi. I don't know if he's involved with any Iraqi Marxist-Leninist parties, but most of his audience is American. And he's not telling his audience, you know, join the ACP, join whatever. He does tell them to join organizations. But I feel like if you're truly a principled Marxist-Leninist creator, you have to be trying to funnel your audience into on-the-ground organizing. And that's where I see the deprogram guys as lacking. And guess what? I have this party called the American Communist Party that would happily work together with you and sit down for a conversation to work out our disagreements and figure some stuff out. But Hakim has done a lot to educate new people about the basics of Marxism. So he's going an A behind these guys. I don't know. Maybe I'll put Hakim in B. We'll put him in B. Because these guys are like friendly and have always been willing to help and talk and do stuff. And they weren't mad that we started a party that's actually doing stuff on the ground, whereas Hakim was. So I changed my mind. He's B. And behind Danny. Fellow Traveler's cool. He I don't know how he feels about the ACP. He has some bad takes and some good takes. I don't know. We'll put him at the top of the C tier. Big Joel. This is a leftist guy who mostly does music reviews and commentary on cultural stuff. I don't hate him, but he's fairly liberal. C. Second Thought. Everything I said about Second Thought, or everything I said about Hakim is true about JT of Second Thought. But I also think Hakim has a longer history and a deeper understanding of Marxism-Leninism. And he's less afflicted with like liberal worldviews and liberal ideas. Whereas, you know, JT's video sometimes will like prioritize racial analysis above class analysis or things like that, where I feel like there's a little bit of liberalism. But that being said, he had a giant 1 million subscriber channel, and he chose to still become a Marxist-Leninist and start doing Marxist-Leninist educational content. So you have to respect that. I think he was doing some stuff with the CPUSA for a while. Hopefully he realized that what they call the CPUSA, the husk of that party that's still left, is just a bunch of feds hanging out with each other. But again, like there's this new party, Marxist-Leninist party in America, that aligns with all of your stated ideals about putting the working class in power and nationalizing the banks and the industry and feeding everybody and building high-speed rail. And it's called the ACP, and you don't support it for reasons I don't understand. And you don't tell your audience to go into it, you know, while collecting a lot of Patreon money, which is fine. Collect your Patreon money. Get rich as hell. I'm happy for you. I'm proud of you. But then tell your audience to join an actual party. And in America, there's only one if you're a Marxist-Leninist, which is what JT claims to be. So right there with his buddy Hakim. Kyle Kuklinski. Kyle Kuklinski was who helped me become like a hardcore Bernie bro, social democrat before I started studying Marxism-Leninism. I think since he married Crystal Ball and married into a very wealthy family, he's really sold out, started rubbing elbows with more prominent liberal thinkers. And he still has a banger every once in a while, but his takes have gotten pretty bad as of late. He spends all day on Twitter complaining about Joe Rogan and stuff. So has a lot of really bad takes. I believe he told everybody to vote for Biden. He had this big rant about how the Democrats are way better than the Republicans. Kuklinski, you're going in the bottom of C tier. Right next to Black Red Guard. How's that feel? Philosophy Tube. Everything I said about ContraPoints, retweet. Except Philosophy Tube was actually doing videos on the basics of Marxism and completely distorting them. And then when the Gray Zone released that piece about these guys being connected to British money, British State Department money or intelligence money, I was like, that makes so much sense. Because I mean, what would be more effective in disrupting the left than to have somebody doing Marxism for beginners, basics of Marxism, and then distorting it? So right from the beginning, right as people are starting to learn about politics and Marxism and class struggle, they're being put on a bad path towards obsession with identity politics and culture war issues rather than actual Marxist-Leninist class struggle and anti-imperialism. So yeah. And Hans-Georg Muller has a really good video on Philosophy Tube and about like gender issues and pro-felicity and stuff that people should check out. Hassan Piker. Now this is a tough one. This is a tough one. There are many, many people in my audience, especially on TikTok, who are former Hassan Piker fans or even still watch Hassan sometimes. And I'm very grateful for that. I'm grateful for the Hassan to Midwestern Marx pipeline. Thank you, Hassan. You should just start telling your viewers to go straight to us instead of wasting time with you. But again, all the same problems as Hakeem and Second Thought. He's out here helping the Democrats. His stupidest tweet that I think he's ever had, and he's had a handful of dumb ones, and a handful of tweets that he's gotten unfairly attacked for. He gets unfairly attacked more than maybe anyone else. That is true. Shout out to Ethan Klein, you disgusting freak. But anyways, his most ridiculous tweet was like, it was something like, people say Hassan doesn't actually do anything with his audience. Well, look, I just interviewed Bernie and AOC. What do you mean I'm not doing anything? I just interviewed 2 corporate Democrat fake socialists. Like, Hassan, move on from these people. Who cares about the Democratic elite or the Democratic Socialist elite? Who cares about having them on your show? That's not what's most important, dude. We need class struggle now. This country desperately needs change. Stop hanging out with Bernie and AOC for clout. Embrace your destiny. The American Communist Party. I don't know where Hassan goes. Probably the top of C tier. I forgot to do an F tier again. I really, what I need is a D and an F tier to separate these. Some of these should be in F, and then like these guys, these 2 should be in D, and then these 3 should be in F, but whatever. Can I add another one? Whoops. Nope, that's not what I wanted to do. Shoot. B up, D down. Okay. Can I add another one here? I think we tried to do this last time. Oh well, doesn't matter that much. Luna Oi and non-compete. I could separate these 2. Non-compete's like an anarchist, and I don't know that he's had the greatest effect on Luna Oi's politics, but Luna Oi is a Marxist-Leninist, has a bunch of good videos on Vietnam, mostly drawing from her personal experience. She's not like a Marxist-Leninist scholar or anything, but she was taught Marxism-Leninism in the Vietnamese education system, which gives her a base level of knowledge. And then she has videos like on the Vietnam War, talking about her mom's experience. Her mom had her schoolhouse bombed by the U.S. during the Vietnam War, and they talk about that experience, and she's able to put it through a very basic Marxist-Leninist framework for people to understand, which is actually a great tool for Westerners, right? To see just what a regular kind of woman's life is like, young woman's life is like in Vietnam, and hear her talk about it, and hear her talk about Marxism-Leninism from her perspective, which is a more civilian, not hyper-academic perspective. So that's what I do like about Luna Oi. Her attacks on Infrared and Haas were completely uncalled for and incited a flame war that was unfortunate. I don't know why she did that. It seemed like she got pressured by leftists into doing that. Like I said, kind of just like a normal person, not like a terminally online, a leftist influencer type. I don't know. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's because of non-compete. I don't know, but we'll put them in. See, this is where we really need another tier. We'll put them at the top of C, ahead of Hassan. Carl Za is cool. He's like a Chinophile. He was born in China. He talks about China. He understands China's history going way, 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 way back really, 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 really well. He has a podcast called the Silk and Steel podcast, I believe. Not like someone who's going to teach you Marxist-Leninist theory so much, but knows a lot about China and can debunk any myth about China and can give you his personal experience on China. So Carl Za will go in the B with Danny up there at the front. Jimmy Dore. I like Jimmy. Jimmy, I think, gives the perspective of a lot of anti-establishment working class Americans. But he's got a lot of really horrible takes. His takes about existing socialist countries are really bad. He'll often say, the U.S. is turning into North Korea. It's like, no, North Korea would have to kill 20% of our population to do that. Like the U.S. did to them. Oh, no, that would be North Korea turning into the U.S., right? But either way, if we were going to be the same thing, they'd have to murder 20% of our population like we did to them. Who are the real crazy ones, Jimmy? But he's not like a theorist or an academic, of course. But he has a lot of base takes. He's not hyper woke, and he called all that stuff out. He got canceled by a lot of the shit libs for not being a shit lib, just talking like a working class guy. So shout out to Jimmy. We'll put him in C up there with Lunoy and Hassan. Super chat from Marco. Thank you very much. Got double super chats coming in all of a sudden. Thank you all. Is there an ML analysis of the Ukraine war? Marxist creators say Russia imperial. Yes, we have one on our channel. It's one of our most well-viewed videos. Just search on YouTube, Midwestern Marxist analysis, Ukraine war. It'll come up. Thank you so much, Marco. Appreciate you and appreciate you for being a YouTube member. Michelle, thank you. 8 months. That's awesome, brother. Thank you for sticking with us for the last 8 months and helping to fund our institute and our work here. Appreciate you. Is Zoe B going to be on this tier list? I consider her my nemesis since she's an academic poet. I have a low opinion of academic poets. I do not know who Zoe B is, so she will not be on this list. But thank you for being a member, both Marco and Michelle. Appreciate you both a bunch. Do Dissidents. These guys are pretty cool. I recommend watching them. They've talked about Marxism, Leninism. They want to have us on, and we really, really do need to go on because they're smart guys and they want to learn more about Marxism, I believe. They want to have a conversation about it. So when it comes to their takes on like the news and stuff, I rarely disagree with them, like strongly, maybe on little nitpicky things, but they're pretty cool guys. I really like Russell B. Madeline Pendleton. Madeline Pendleton, a lot of you, I'm sure Suki's mom is not on here. Suki's mom I did not add her to the list. Maybe I should have. I didn't do too many Twitter influencers, but thank you, Sanskar, for the $2 super chat. Appreciate you. Madeline Pendleton, a lot of people probably expect me to put her in D, but before she made those ridiculous, narcissistic, hyper-emotional, and annoying videos about the ACP with like zero knowledge of what we're actually about, before that, I didn't hate her. Usually, I felt like when she was getting canceled, it was for something where she was right? She was saying, don't vote Democrat. Or if you're a Marxist, don't support the Democrats. Or recently, she got attacked for saying Zoran Mamdani is sheepdogging people into the Democratic Party. It's like, she's right about that. She got canceled a while back for supporting the DPRK, right? So usually when she gets canceled, it's for good things. But then when she like tries to smear the ACP and spread lies about us, she doesn't get canceled for that. Her videos didn't get many views anyways, but she blocked me after I made my response video. Shout out to her. But yeah, so she's not that bad, but she's pretty annoying. She doesn't understand Marxism that well. Super, super individualistic, like hyper individualistic. Tweet some stuff about Marxism sometimes that are just like, what are you talking about? But either way, we'll put her. She avoids being in the D tier. If we had an F tier, she would be D, and then these three would be an F. We'll put her back here with Kyle. Logo. Speaking of Twitter influencers, I'm sure Logo would be mad that anyone would call him a leftist influencer. He just considers himself a father and a Marxist-Leninist working class guy and a MAGA communist. But Logo is one of the most brilliant people I've ever had the pleasure of interacting with. I've yet to get to have a conversation with him or do an interview or anything, but I want to one day. Not only is Logo brilliant, and not only do I agree with him on almost everything theoretically and politically, down to like the most minute issues of political strategy. And not only do I agree with a lot of his takes on art and music as well, and this guy will recommend you some of the best music that you've ever heard. Logo Dedalis on X. Follow him if you're into music and film. Trust me, he'll put you on to some good stuff. Not only that, but I just think he's an awesome guy too. He's like has this Christian ethic that I relate to, growing up in the Christian church. He has this family-oriented ethic that I really like, this forgiveness-oriented ethic that I really like. So I just really, based on what I know about him through Twitter, I think he's a really good person. So, and through listening to his debates with Oz. S tier with Diego. Rathbone. I love this man. Rathbone is a good friend. He read The Purity Fetish. I sent him a copy. This man read The Purity Fetish, and then a week later, he went on InfoWars and talked to them about Marxism, Leninism, and got them to agree with a bunch of anti-capitalist talking points. So that's the power of the Purity Fetish book at work, folks. Overcoming the Purity Fetish and getting high-profile TikTok influencers on InfoWars and other right-wing shows to spread a communist message, winning people over the way that the left has failed to do for so many years. But Rathbone is a TikTok creator and a musician. He does a lot of really awesome skits. He's a Marxist-Leninist, and he really focuses on Palestine, the issue of Palestine. So, and he's hyper-based on that issue. Oh, we forgot to put your favorite guy in here. I forgot to put Guy Christensen in here. One sec. I have to add him because he's my boy. My homie. Here he is. Shoot. We'll use the picture of him that Stop Anti-Semitism posted. All right, one sec. Oops, showing all my files. All right, whatever. I'll just Guy is in between A and S tier. Sorry, Guy, that I forgot to put your face on the list. I'm not gonna take the time to do it right now. But either way, Rathbone. Back to Rathbone. TikTok creator, does a lot of great skits. He's between A and S. We'll go A. And then once Rathbone really starts like deeply studying Marxism, Leninism, and understands it just a little bit deeper, so he can teach his audience about it more, then he'll move right up to S tier. Till then, he's at the very tippy top of A. Malumbo, my boy. Anyone who's actually in the ACP, anyone who's risking their social media career, and their internet clout, and who's bringing on attacks from all these psychotic pseudo leftists, anyone who's doing that in order to join the ACP and fight alongside the workers and is showing up to ACP meetings and doing real work on the ground, in addition to their music career and their influencer career and their video career, anyone like that goes in S tier. I like Malumbo's content a lot too. He does good content, but what he does with his work on the ground and with using his music and talents for the party, that's what gets you in S tier. Marxist Paul. Marxist Paul is this Maoist YouTube guy. Not a lot of people probably know him. I responded to one of his videos a while back. It's one of our most viewed videos on the Russia-Ukraine war, where he accused people who support Russia or don't support Ukraine of being campists. It was a really bad video that I tore apart. He has some good videos, some really bad videos, and for that, he gets put in C. Is this Nico House? I like Nico. Nico's chill. He does it like Infrared and Jackson, which I wish I could bridge that gap. It's like you both want the same thing. You're both anti-imperialist. You're both risking your skin to go against the U.S. empire. So if it wasn't for that, he'd be A tier. But I like Nico. Nico supports Midwestern Marx. He's, I don't disagree with hardly any of the content that he puts out. It's just the beef that he has with some of my closest friends. And I wish we could unite and work together more closely because I'm a big fan. So we'll put him in B. Do I even need to say anything about this? Somebody play the infrared intro music right now. Somebody play it. Somebody, please. Let's see if I can find it. Is this it? Dang. You guys know what I'm talking about? He's live right now? Oh, I didn't even know that. I should have finished my stream earlier. Let's see if he's playing the song right now. Dang it, he's not. I was hoping he was playing it right now so I could play it. This is taking... S tier. Enough said. Do you have an opinion about Camus Franklin and Black Liberation Media? I don't know anything about them. I apologize, Perry Stein. I can look into them for you, but yeah, maybe ask the question another time. But I do not know anything. But thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Really appreciate that, brother. Thank God for Haas. Yep, pretty much. That sums it up. Thank God that infrared exists. Shout out to him. My greatest friends in this left-wing sphere of politics, and it's not even close. Might as well just do this one next. Right up there with his buddy, the great Jay Hinkle, most popular Marxist-Leninist on the internet. Somebody who's done more to popularize Marxism-Leninism and push it even with right-wingers than pretty much anybody I know. The guy who I recommend to any of my right-wing friends who are getting interested in politics, I send them right to Jackson Hinkle. And before you know it, they know exactly what's going on in the world and which side they should be on. He makes it simple for them. So Jackson is S++ tier, same as Haas. Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think Jackson belongs in S tier, but I think that's where Eddie is going to put him. You're damn right I am. When it comes to the objective of effect and the objective influence that any of these people have had, Haas and Jackson are at the top. Well, Diego's hard to say because Diego's in the Spanish-speaking world, so he actually has a bigger influence than Haas even, and maybe in some ways than Jackson. But it's over, Spanish speakers where there's our larger market of a larger pre-existing market of Marxists than there is in the English-speaking world. So it's a little bit of an uphill battle for us, but the positive influence that these guys have had on so many people in the left is something that I'm really grateful for. Socialism for all. If something good in the world happens, you can pretty much bet that this guy's going to come out and condemn it. And if something good in the world, or if something bad in the world happens, he's going to support it. Everything good politically, he condemns. Everything bad politically, he supports, and he calls it socialism. That's this guy's job. If any of these people are federal agents, this is the one I would assume the most. This guy. This is who I would lean towards the most, even above these three. This guy is something else. Anything militant or anything based, he just says tanky fascism, everything's tanky fascism. vote for AOC. Any criticism of AOC is fascism. It's ridiculous. I can't believe the guy still has any audience. I don't know that he does. I feel like all his viral tweets are Fed boosted. Just probably a CIA agent. Not saying he is. Don't sue me, but potentially a CIA agent sent to infiltrate the left. Fuck him. Fuck him. As for A, is Fed confirmed? Is he? I wouldn't be surprised if it was actually confirmed. His biggest YouTube videos are him talking shit about the ACP. I'm not surprised. That's how all these fucking people stay relevant. It is just by keeping our name in their mouth, because we're actually relevant from what we do with our work, not from just talking shit about people who have more attention on them. Oh, S for A, is he the... I was thinking of... Sorry, people are talking... Is this the audiobook guy? Okay. I was talking about Socialism Done Left. I was talking about SDL. Okay, rewind. Everything I just said about S for A, I meant to say about Socialism Done Left. S for A is the guy who does the audiobooks. Socialism Done Left is the guy who supports everything bad and condemns everything good. So sorry, Socialism for All. You're not as evil as I thought. And I don't think Socialism for All is a Fed at all. I just think they're very misguided. And they put a lot of liberalism in their audiobooks that annoys the shit out of me, like using gender-neutral language when reading Mao. It's like, just read the damn book. So I don't need all this woke shit in my Mao. Okay, so he goes in C, but he does done some okay audiobooks, so whatever. Put him in C for his audiobooks. Socialism Done Left is D minus F tier. Fuck that guy. Yeah, he's just a dipshit. Socialism Done Left is probably a Fed. Sam Cedar. I have never watched The Majority Report or been a fan in my life. I've watched it a few times, mostly to debunk them. But YouTube shoves these people down my throat. The YouTube algorithm shoves The Majority Report down people's throats. Because Sam Cedar left MSNBC because he was too edgy for MSNBC and started a YouTube channel, and he became the MSNBC of YouTube. This sanitized, hyper-liberal politics masquerading as left-wing politics. It is MSNBC with a more progressive veneer, which is perfect for YouTube, right? If corporate media wanted to create a YouTube account to pretend to be more progressive and edgy, to catch that YouTube audience, that younger audience, but steer them towards neoliberal, pro-establishment, ruling class politics, they would create The Majority Report. And I'm not saying they are corporate funded or Sam Cedar some kind of a corporate op, but he might as well be. And the YouTube algorithm treats him like he is one. If the YouTube algorithm treated Midwestern Marx the same way they treat Majority Report, we would have had a revolution a year ago. D. Noah Krachevik, the wise and great carpenter, the hardest working man I know. Put him up there with the boys. Watch Noah's show on the Midwestern Marx YouTube channel if you want to know why. David Packman. The Pac-Man. This guy has always been neoliberal, but he gets more neoliberal by the day. He recently said that he might be leaving the country because Donald Trump is so evil. Good riddance, David. Take your anti-communism somewhere else. This is Michael Brooks. Michael Brooks passed away. He was actually a part of the Majority Report, but he was studying Marx at the end of his life, deeply studying Marx, listening to Richard Wolff and others. And I'll never forget, Ben Burgess made some kind of a Facebook post on his personal Facebook. He was friends with Michael Brooks. And he said, Michael Brooks once asked me if Marxism could be called, I believe it was, I'm paraphrasing, and I haven't been able to find this post since, so forgive me. And sorry, Ben Burgess, for sharing what you might have put on your personal Facebook. But it was like, Michael Brooks once asked me if Marxism could be described as British political economy, French utopian socialism, and what's the other one? German philosophy. And he's like, I thought he was quoting so-and-so French Marxist, but he was actually quoting Lenin. So Burgess was saying he was surprised that Michael Brooks was reading Lenin at the end of his life. He was loving it. And I remember the guy just had such like an insatiable appetite for knowledge. He just wanted to learn more and more and more because he truly, genuinely wanted to help. I imagine at some point he would have split with the Majority Report over their liberalism, and I would have loved to have met the guy. Maybe the CIA found out he was reading Lenin and did away with him. But I'm more favorable towards Michael Brooks than most Marxist-Leninists probably are. Put him in at the top of B. He's almost an A for me. I like that guy. R.I.P. He was a good faith actor. And he was funny. Yes, next to all those stuffy neoliberals, he was very funny. Rest in peace. Good man. The straight white dudes for Harris. Straight white boys for Harris. Harry Sisson, Parker, Chris Mowry, and Dean Withers. These guys are something else. They just like steer into the meme. They're like, yep, everybody's going to call us beta, soy boy, liberals. So we're just going to like steer into it and do it as much as we can and call ourselves beta, soy boy, liberals and just openly support Kamala and openly be hypocritical in how we criticize Trump, but don't criticize our own party. And, you know, I know all these guys personally, at least on some level, other than Dean. I don't know Harry that well, but he blocked me once when he was making a video in support of Biden's missile strikes on Syria because he didn't want me to call him out. So he knows who I am. These guys are just complete shills. Most of them, if not all of them, are getting NGO money, DNC money, just to go live on TikTok all day and try to tell people to vote for Biden. So how does it feel to sell your soul, boys? And Parker at one point called himself a socialist, and we were actually pretty decent friends. But that NGO money and liberal activist money is hard to reject. RBN, Revolutionary Blackout Network. These guys are Marxist-Leninists. They are based. They are on the right side of every issue. They do not buy into cancel culture. Nick Cruz just went on Jake Shields' show and pushed communist Marxist-Leninist politics. They platform the ACP. They go on right-wing platforms to push a communist message, and they don't give a shit what the anti-social left has to say about it. They're in S tier. Shout out to RBN, some of our greatest allies on the left. Volk Vulture, the GOAT. If you know, you know. Follow Volk Vulture on X, the greatest X debater who's ever lived. What he says is true, period. RBN, easiest S tier of all time. Yes, so is Volk, though. Both of them. Volk, the KGB agent. He's just the KGB AI that they created to argue with reactionaries. No, I've talked to him. He's real. Phil DeFranco, the biggest neoliberal on TikTok. Just go watch Phil DeFranco's TikTok sometime, and you'll be inundated with the most infuriating bullshit, well-produced neoliberal propaganda of all time. Another guy who's gotten more and more neoliberal as time has passed, and a guy who's talked about always making sure that he's backed up financially, making sure that he's involved in various different businesses and on various different platforms and doing various different things to bring money in. This is what he recommends other creators do. I know because I used to be a big fan. So did he guarantee himself a source of revenue from the U.S. State Department and the CIA or some liberal NGOs to push propaganda? I don't know. One can speculate. But D tier all the way. The Young Turks. You know what? These guys are like the stereotypical left libs. But recently, Cenk Uygur has had some based takes. He had this based episode on Hassan's show where he was talking about why the Democrats have no connection with the people anymore and why they suck. So we'll put him at the very bottom of C. He dug himself out of the D tier by calling out his nephew. Vaush. You could tell that it's Vaush from the horse. Where do you guys think I should put Vaush? Voosh. Vaish? Does this even have to be a discussion? I'm pretty sure the picture of the horse speaks for itself. Or every single U.S. regime change effort that's ever happened, which Vaush has enthusiastically supported for the sake of democracy. Why is Why We Need American Marxism in here? Is Carlos an influencer now? A+. This is Tariq Nasheed. As a white man, I cannot comment on brother Tariq Nasheed. Shout out to him for talking to Haas that one time. B, I guess. Brianna Joy Gray. I like Brianna Joy Gray, Democratic Socialist, but one with balls. One who has actually worked for the Bernie campaign and very easily could have just completely sold out and become an establishment neoliberal, but didn't. Gets more hate than almost anyone else because she runs around in neoliberal circles and talks common sense, which neoliberals don't like. So they freak out on her all the time. We'll put her up here in B. That's where she belongs. Ethan Klein. Ethan Klein is proof that Zionist politics on the inside ruins the way that you look on the outside. It rots your mind, body, and soul. Ethan Klein is withering away into nothing but a little skeleton of a man fueled by Ozempic and pharmaceutical drugs. His complete crash out over Hassan Piker being pro-Palestine was insane. I don't know why Hassan thought a podcast with Ethan Klein was even a good idea. His wife literally served in the terrorist IDF. And he is just, he's trying to hang on to this left-wing audience while supporting the only existing, openly fascist government in the world today in the state of Israel, the ethno-state, the apartheid state of Israel. So disgusting freak of a man on the inside, and I think that's turning him into a freak on the outside. And a man who's never been happy, right? He's never been happy. He's a sad, sad creature. And that has taken him into a very, very depraved and depressing place. A dark place is where Ethan Klein is now. In the D tier, the darkest place of all. Right next to him, we have maybe the only person on the internet more depraved than Ethan Klein. Somebody who disgusts me not only on a political level, but on a human level. The streamer Destiny. Somebody who totally embraces the individualistic, narcissistic, liberal worldview of just consume, 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 do whatever makes you happy, do as thou wilt, let your wife bang 1,000 guys, it'll be fine, even though she ran off with one of her studs. And now his son, it's actually been revealed recently that his son is a Nazi, which is just Destiny's politics with the liberal mask taken off. Right? He just wants to support all of the things that Destiny supports, but be more honest about it. Destiny was recently in Israel telling IDF soldiers that if they commit war crimes, they should at least not film it because it makes it harder for him to win debates back at home. Right? So commit all the war crimes you want against Palestinians, but just don't film it. Otherwise, I might lose a debate to Eddie Liger again, or Norm Finkelstein. Mr. Bonelli, you're in the D tier. Santiago Armesia. I love Santiago. Great Marxist-Leninist guy. He's a Hispanist. Very interesting to learn about and read about. I don't agree with it on every level. They have some good points and stuff. Very interesting read. They do have a lot of good points. I don't agree with some of the foundational tenets, but in terms of Marxism, Leninism, and his party in Spain, and actually using his influence to do on the ground organizing, he's doing a great job. Very pro ACP. Yeah, you know what? We'll put him in S. We'll put the Hispanist stuff aside, and we'll put him in S. Jason Unruh. This is like perfect lol cow tier. Remember what I was saying about Black Red Guard and Bad Empanada and the lol cow tier, how you can't hate them because they're too funny? That's Jason Unruh, hardcore ultra leftist Maoist guy, an OG. His debate with Haas is one of the funniest things that I've ever seen in my life. He almost got them both banned, which was so funny. No. Fucking idiot. Oh, God. I love it. Lee Camp. I haven't watched Lee Camp in a while, but he's a good journalist. I like Lee Camp. I don't know. I don't know what any of his recent positions have been on anything, so I'll just put him with Jimmy. But I have everything I've seen from that guy. Like, Lee Camp is A. I unironically love Lee Camp. He is S tier, A tier. Is he really? Am I sleeping on Lee Camp, you guys? Let me see what his most recent videos are. Because this is an uneducated opinion from me here. The Syria hoax.
Coming up on...
I like that. Hidden truth about the Syria hoax. U.S. petrodollar. Talking about Tucker. All right, yeah, I think he needs to go up a slot. Just based on those videos, we'll put him in B. Maybe he's A. Maybe he's up here with these guys. I don't know him well enough. I got to do a little bit more investigation into Lee. B for Hugo, someone says. Yup, right next to his buddies here. Easy call there. B for Ugopnik. Same as everything I said about Hakeem, and second thought is true, except Ugopnik cracks me the fuck up, dude. That guy is hilarious, legitimately. I like Ugopnik. I like all those guys on a personal level. I've talked to Hakeem in DMs, and I've talked to Ugopnik and JT over voice chat. I wish we could work together more. There's no reason to let petty individual beefs stop us from working together towards a common goal. I know that. Chapo Trap House, man, I do have a soft spot in my heart for these guys. They're very intelligent, and they are hilarious. Their show cracks me up. I used to listen to it all the time. My favorite segment they do is the one where they read some right-winger's book, and then they break it down and talk about how crazy and weird it is, and how depraved and, like, sometimes these right-wingers have, like, weird sexual stuff in their books that show how fucking weird they think. But anyways, yeah, I like these guys. I don't know what they're doing now. I know one of them had a health scare recently, but we'll put them up there with Lee Camp and B. They are hella funny. Felix is almost ML. Yes, absolutely. Felix is very smart. I like Felix. Yeah, Hassan. He just told me on Twitter to add him to the list, so I did. But he's always tweeting shit about the ACP and has some dumb takes, but also has some good takes. So there you go, Hassan. I hope you're happy with your spot because you asked to be on the list. So quit being a bitch about the ACP. Douglas Spader. Now, not many people know this one, right? Douglas Spader is one of the biggest up-and-coming influencers on the internet. If you don't follow his show on Rumble, you are behind the curve. Douglas Spader is the most intelligent theorist, the greatest philosopher, the most well-read geopolitical analyst, and the greatest Marxist-Leninist of all time. Okay, there's no competing. Watching his show once is like reading Capital 1,000 times, all 3 volumes. That's how crazy Douglas Spader's show is and how packed full of knowledge it is. Spader saved my dog from a fire. Yes, he also did that to me, except he saved my grandma too, and me. Okay, so Douglas Spader is basically Joseph Stalin reincarnated. So watch the Spader Report on Rumble and follow him on X. All right, there's our list, y'all. What do you think? Here it is. Got the Marxist-Leninists up here, the hyper-based journalists and TikTokers here, the really based creators here, the lol cows and half and half folks here. We really needed another tier. We needed a D and an F to really separate these, because C is way too high for some of these. And D is not low enough for some of these, where we have our shit tier, our neoliberal pseudo-Marxist imperialist tier. So yeah, what do you think? What tier does this tier list get? S tier? Let me know in the comments, and let me know what you want to see me tier list next. Maybe we'll do Marxist poets like this guy recommended, Marxist authors and poets. I'd love to do that sometime. Yeah, because we did Marxist leaders, but we didn't do Marxist theoreticians. That would be fun. Good, but I'd also put Eddie in S tier. Thank you, comrade. Appreciate it. Z tier list. Let's go. Based. What's up, Red Maze? Good to see you, brother. Rev Left Radio. They would be in between B and A. I don't mind them at all. Base tier list. Thank you. Vaushan, Ethan, and Z. No, Z is based because it represents Russia. So they would be in poop tier. Gray zone. So yeah, I should make an addendum here. I didn't include people who I consider to be journalists or authors. That's also why I included Noah, but not Carlos. I consider Carlos to be a philosopher and an author. So there are a few people in here who I would consider journalists, but they're like mostly YouTube based. The gray zone, I wouldn't say they're mostly YouTube based. They just do YouTube because it's popular and they can get a lot of views, but a lot of their stuff is written. That's how I usually consume the gray zone's work versus all of these people. It's usually on YouTube or TikTok or something. So anybody who's not like a Chris Hedges or somebody who's more a journalist and content creator, I didn't really include them. Jody Brar, same thing. Like I wouldn't consider her a content creator or an influencer. That's not what she does for a living. She's an organizer and writer and stuff. But yeah, Jody would obviously be S tier. Jody's goated. She'd be right up there in S tier with RBN. I love her so much. She's great. I'm friends with Jody Brar on Duolingo, and that lady grinds, bro. I cannot keep up with Jody Brar. She is learning languages so fast. I'm like, I wake up in the morning and I check Duolingo, and it's like Jody Brar did 50 lessons today, and then I see Jody on some show like Garland Nixon's show talking about some book from Lenin and dissecting it in depth. I'm like, how did you have time to read that book, dissect it, and do 50 Duolingo levels today, Jody? You're amazing. So shout out to her. So inspirational. Yes, absolutely. There are a lot of comrades like that out there in the world who inspire us to be better, and to do more, to be the best versions of ourselves that we can possibly be, and to live like Che Guevara collectively for our comrades, for the working class, for our communities, not for ourselves or for individualistic pleasures the way that someone like Destiny lives their life, but to live your life for your community, for the masses, and to become the new communist man. The individualistic, selfish, capitalist man is weak and not honorable and only chases pleasures or things that bring them pleasure as an individual in the short term. But the communist man is honorable and fights for the community and puts his family and his society above himself and fights on behalf of the working class and tells the truth even when it means getting attacked, having your employment gone after, being smeared and lied about on the internet. We say we do not care because the truth will win out in the end. And if you are in America and you want to join that movement and become the new communist man, check out acp.us/join. Let's fight this system together. All right, comrades. With that, we'll see you on the next one.
Stand up, all victims of oppression, for the tyrants fear your might. Don't cling so hard to your possessions, for you have nothing if you have no right. Let racist ignorance be ended, for respect makes the empires fall. Freedom is merely privilege extended, unless enjoyed by one and all. So come, brothers and sisters, for the struggle carries on. The International unites the world in song. So comrades, come rally, for this is the time and place. The international ideal unites the human race. Let no one build walls to divide us, walls of hatred nor walls of stone. Come greet the dawn and stand beside us. We'll live together or we'll die alone. In In a world poisoned by exploitation, those who have taken, now they must give. And end the vanity of nations, we've but one earth on which to live. So come brothers and sisters, for the struggle carries on. The International unites the world in the song. So comrades, come rally, for this is the time and place. The international ideal unites the human race. And so begins the final drama, in the streets and in the field. We stand unbowed before their armor, we defy their guns and shields. When we fight, provoked by their aggression, let us be inspired by life and love. For though they offer us concessions, change will not come